The Creator is the latest from director Gareth Edwards, who brought you Godzilla and Rogue One, and it stars John David Washington, Gemma Chan, and Ken Watanabe, and this has been heralded as the next gigantic sci-fi epic classic. People have heralded this as tremendous. They've said that this is a masterpiece right away, putting it very high on the pedestal from the get-go. So what do we got here? So as a future war between the human race and artificial intelligence rages on, we follow Joshua, played by Washington, who's an ex-Special Forces agent. He's recruited to hunt down and kill the Creator, the elusive architect of advanced AI. See, the Creator has developed this mysterious weapon that has the power to end the war and all of mankind. As Joshua and his team of elite operatives venture into enemy-occupied territory, they soon discover the world-ending weapon is actually an AI in the form of a young child. And not gonna spoil anything about what this young child is or who this young child is, but as soon as I laid eyes on it when I was sitting there watching the movie, I was able to guess it right away. And if it feels like I've been pretty sassy throughout this review so far, that's because I don't really think this movie is as great as a lot of people are saying it is. Don't get me wrong, there are some great things about the Creator that I will definitely talk about first, but there's a lot of things about this movie that really hold it back from being the instant classic that most are saying it is. First off, I really respect the ambition and the direction of Gareth Edwards here. There are so many neat, original, and creative ideas about this movie, no pun intended, that I'll be honest, I've never seen before. This is a lot like Avatar in a lot of ways, where you can just take one look at the world of the Creator and the world that's being built, and how amazing this cinematography is, and how cool a lot of this CGI actually looks. And you can look at a movie like this and just escape and forget about everyday life. And I think that's the biggest strength of the Creator, is the ambition and the ideas that it has, as well as its knack to allow the audience to suspend its disbelief. Like, I was looking at these robots and the way they were designed and the way that their ears are basically gone. And the fact that you can clone the dead and basically transport their memories with a USB drive thing. It's a really cool concept. I gotta give this movie mad props for that. The production element of it, damn, really great. The score, Hans Zimmer, need I say more? But lest I forget to mention some stellar performances across the board. John David Washington, I've said it before and I'll say it again. That dude is his father's son. Like, seriously, next time you go and watch a John David Washington movie, like if you're in the mood to rewatch Tenet or something like that, look at the way this dude delivers his lines, and look at the way this dude smiles. You see so much of Denzel in this guy, and he is taking after his father so incredibly well. And he gets a lot of really juicy character work to sink his teeth into with this script. Joshua has an extremely tragic backstory that immediately makes you sympathize with this guy. And you can take one look into this guy's eyes, and you can tell that this is a lost soul. Far and away, John David Washington, I think, is the heart and soul of this movie. I think he does wonders, and I can't wait to see what he does next. But that's not to say that the rest of this cast are no slouches either. Gemma Chan, loved her in Eternals, and she has a smaller role in this flick, but she is brilliant in this. Again, not a ton of dialogue on her part, but she is able to get so much across with this character with very minimal material. And need I say, her and John David Washington have phenomenal chemistry with one another. Ken Watanabe was a legend already, and I think this is another performance that he can put on his resume that he can definitely be proud of. And these performances, in my opinion, and the ideas and the ambition of the Creator, I think it considerably saves this movie. Because man, do I have a lot of issues with the Creator. Like, it feels to me, because this is a 2 hour and 15 minute runtime, which is crazy in and of itself, but you look back at the film and the sequence of events that went down, there are some sequences that I feel like don't really go anywhere. Like, there are certain side characters that I wanted to learn so much more about, but then the script just very quickly disposes of them. And I watched this movie with a group of friends yesterday. This movie was so incredibly slow-paced. It got to a point where one of my friends actually legit fell asleep. And I think that's very telling with how invested we should be in these characters, because they almost appear like hollow creatures. Aside from John David Washington, There's not really a whole lot to go off with these guys. Like, why should we feel sympathy for these people? Why should we feel sympathy for the robots, which is another huge flaw this movie has? And it's something that's been nagging at me for the past 24 hours or so since I've seen this. This is gonna sound like a crazy notion, but I'm sure most of us are well aware that the actors and writers strikes have been going on all summer long. The writers strike just ended. But let me ask you something. Why did the actors and the writers go on strike? Well, at the crux of it, it's because they want to make living wages. They want to get paid more. Simple enough. But what was one big issue over the summer that exacerbated the whole idea of paying your actors, paying your writers? If you guessed the artificial intelligence introduction of Secret Invasion, yeah, that was a big problem. Like, you couldn't pay the creative minds that are working in Hollywood right now to come up with something really cool. And here this movie sits. It's all about a war with the human race against artificial intelligence. That sounds pretty freaking epic. And this movie had so much freaking potential to actually make this a timely narrative. But then again, there is so much dialogue in this movie that's saying, oh, artificial intelligence isn't so bad. That's how we evolve. AI is the future. Yeah, not great timing on that. Imagine if this movie came out like 2 years ago. How much more critically acclaimed would this movie have been? And I don't think that's necessarily a fault on the movie. I think that's just horrific timing on the studio's part to put this out while these people are on the picket line, deservedly so, and they're basically telling the big studio execs, pay your actors, pay your writers. Like, it's not that hard. You really need to pay those hardworking people the money they're owed. And meanwhile, you have this movie sitting there saying that AI is the more heroic creature. And also, oh my god, I'm not gonna lie. There's points towards the end of the second act of this movie where I thought the movie was taking itself way too over seriously. And there was this big action set piece that is really cool looking, but the concept of it and the execution, I just couldn't help but laugh at how stupid it was. Like, if you want to go for camp and if you want to go for a fun action movie, do that. Don't take yourself so overly seriously. Like, there was a point where I was like, this is gonna be one of, if not the most disappointing movies of the year. And honestly, as it stands, The Creator still is one of the most disappointing movies of the year for me. Aside from some great performances, along with some neat world building and ambitious ideas, this is a movie that really drops the ball in terms of story and characters. That is except for the third act, which, again, I'm not going to spoil, but the last half hour of this movie I thought was tremendous. Without spoiling anything, yeah, it kind of does suffer from Rogue One syndrome a little bit, and I was definitely reminded of how that movie concluded. But even then, I've had my things to say about Rogue One on this channel and how much I think it's kind of overrated in the grand scheme of things. But I'd rather rewatch Rogue One over this movie any day of the week. You want to know why that is? I think Gareth Edwards takes the Star Wars concept literally. That's the only Star Wars movie that actually feels like real war. And even though the characters in that movie are somewhat hollow as well, you can still enjoy it because in the grand scheme of things, it's still Star Wars and you still feel nostalgic about it. I give massive props to Gareth Edwards for trying to build this really cool new world that we can all escape to. But I mean, especially with the way this movie concluded, I don't really think it leaves the door open for any sort of sequel. But I'm sorry if this disappoints you guys, but I just could not get invested into this movie as much as it wanted me to. At best, this movie is pretty mid. I'm gonna give The Creator a C+. Again, I'm sorry if that grade seems ridiculously low for a lot of you guys, but if I'm not being honest and true with you guys about how I feel on this channel, then what's the point? If you love The Creator, I'm certainly not gonna stop you. If you think this is one of the best movies of the year, have at it. I'm glad you guys love this movie. But let me know what you thought of it down in the comments section below. Do you think this is going to stand the test of time as a sci-fi classic? I feel like this movie is going to have a lot of big discussing points, and I can't wait to talk about it with you guys much more, along with all the other content I'm putting out going through to the end of the year. If you want to keep up to date all new things in movies and entertainment, this channel is the place to be. So do consider subscribing, joining the family today, tap that thumbs up. This is a great community out here. Y'all are invited to the party. And guys, look out for more videos hitting the channel very soon. Looking forward to sharing my Halloween playlist with you guys starting October 1st. Big list of 14 movies that we're going to be going throughout the entire month of October. All horror, Halloween themed. It's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be really busy, but hey, that's what we're here for. That's what I love doing with you guys. Guys, y'all are the best. And with all that being said, back talk, commence.